Hello, I'm Phelim McAleer.
And I'm Anne McElhenney. And welcome to the Anne and Phelim Scoop.
So here we are. It's Wednesday morning, and it looks like the only blue wave flooding America is the wave of votes that are just being discovered in mysterious places in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania.
It's like Georgia. What happens when you throw a rock into a septic pond,
Yes.
You get away.
Yes. So it's all very mysterious. So we want to talk, obviously, about last night. But first of all, I want to say, you may notice we're not in our usual podcast room.
Yeah, it's slightly different looking here.
And you may also notice we're not
alone.
We're not alone. Normally we have Top Cat and Scaredy Cat, but we have other people. So we are election refugees. And this is true. We honestly did not feel safe in Los Angeles last night, Tuesday night. We recognized that Donald Trump was not going to be wiped out in a blue wave, as our betters in the polling media industrial complex told us. And we knew it wasn't going to happen. So we knew that if Trump was to win, there would be an orgy of rioting and destruction. So we knew we had to leave Los Angeles. And if we wanted to enjoy the election in a house with friends, and just to give people context, in Los Angeles, we knew we could go to friends' house to watch the election, but if Trump was winning or won, we feared that we could not get back because of people on the streets. And in LA, they're dragging people out of cars, and in LA, you're not allowed to carry a gun in your car. So we just felt we couldn't be there in LA. So we are election refugees in Monroe, Louisiana, and we are the very special guests, and they are our very special guests on the podcast today, of the Robertson family, Phil Robertson and Alan Robertson. I'm sure you all know them as the family that has been featured on the Duck Dynasty, or as you say, Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
As you people say.
No, they say we say dynasty. They say dynasty.
Duck Dynasty. No, we say dynasty. Duck Dynasty.
We say dynasty, Phelim. We say dynasty.
I'm so confused now. How do you people pronounce that word?
We say dynasty. Everything we say, we drag it out.
Yes.
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
So we grew up with Dynasty, the TV program.
Right.
That's how we pronounce it over there. So just a little, no one needs the background on Duck Dynasty. But it was one of the most successful reality shows. And at a time, one of the most successful shows on television. Mm-hmm. For example, the fourth season premiere drew 11.8 million viewers, and I imagine at that time that was probably one of the most popular shows on TV.
That was my
night.
Debut film.
That's what struck.
I mean, just think about if they had gotten me on that show earlier. Just think about what we could have accomplished. We would have been.
Well, we want to welcome you to our podcast and thank you for allowing us do our podcast from here. Thank you, Phil, and thank
this
you,
is
Alan.
just so you know, this location, and you guys have seen everything. So just out of the viewers that are watching's view, you guys got to see what's out there, right?
Yes.
It's all of our hunting equipment, and then you come in here and got our little. So we call this the lair, which is where we do our Unashamed podcast from. So welcome to you guys. And I found it was really interesting. So Ann, Dad, she sent me a note and she said, "We just want to be surrounded by Robertsons and a lot of guns." And I was like,
"That you have."
I said, "We got plenty of Robertsons. We got plenty of guns."
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean it's upsetting and depressing to see what's going on in Los Angeles, where they've boarded up, and you saw those pictures from Los Angeles and from Washington D.C. It's like,
because they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God. He gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. They become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They're full of murder, envy, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They are senseless. They are senseless.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
for a description of a human, they are faithless. God, what? Oh, that Bible stuff. They're heartless. They slaughter their own offspring
Yes.
while in the womb, which is where we all were at one time, all of us. And they're ruthless. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things that he just listed, I'm quoting scripture here,
Romans 1.
they not only continue to do these very things, and the kicker is, and they approve of those who practice them. Last night, the vote's been cast. In this high-tech world, I've never bought a cell phone, but if they told me if it would answer all the questions you've ever had. I said, does it know how to count?
Yeah.
Because it seems to me either the computers can't figure out who won, so either they can't count out or they don't count.
Or they won't count.
Or they won't count.
No,
What?
they will count as soon as they find the votes stuffed down a sofa.
That's right.
That's the way it's smelling.
Yes. Yeah. And look, I, as people know, we're not from this part of the
We're
world.
not from around these parts.
We're immigrants to this country, but Ireland brought many great things to America, but it also brought excellence in voting fraud.
Yes. Everyone in the graveyard votes the same, is what they say.
Yeah. So
You know, I know y'all are from Ireland, but you look perfectly normal.
Well, thank you. And by the way, I thank you for saying that, particularly after last night, the very stressful evening that we had. But we had a wonderful evening actually with the whole family hanging out and eating very
Beautiful
nice food,
Beautiful
gorgeous food,
Yes.
and consuming quite enormous numbers of glasses of lovely wine too. And trying
I
to
was on my Perrier.
get through the evening, but we had to abandon at what time? Like at 11:30, when it was like we knew then.
It was obvious that
And that was, by the way, that was the perfect call, Phil, because literally that's where it all stopped. When you heard us say, "Well, we're going home tonight," from these states, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's Pennsylvania deciding at 10:30 not to continue counting. That is them trying to get together to work how to steal an election.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, as you say, the smell is it just smells to high heaven, So, I suppose as journalists, we are very interested in how the media. I was going to say got it wrong, but they didn't get it wrong because that would involve them being honest brokers in this. They didn't get it wrong. They had an outcome they wanted,
right.
And they were trying to get it. They're not honest arbiters. They weren't deciding. And I put the polling companies as part of the media industrial complex. They're all part of the same cabal of people who have an outcome they want. And as you say, senseless. They almost don't know that that's what they still have this image of themselves
as clean,
as
honest.
Their biggest problem is that they don't know what their problem is.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's a big problem when you're a human being and you don't know what that is. That's why they wake up angry and you're like, why are you so angry this morning? Why are you so angry at night at 24/7? It's just...
Yeah.
That's actually, I think you bring up a really good point there about anger, actually, because I think one of the things I was saying yesterday was that the contrast between the Trump supporters and the Biden supporters is exactly that. There seems to be joy around, just on a visual thing. You look at the Trump supporters and they're all smiling and they're waving their flags and they're happy and they're full of joy and they're optimistic about the future. Whereas the Biden supporters and the leftists, everything is bleak and appalling, and they wake up angry. They go to bed angry. You're totally right. They're filled with vitriol. They're filled with hatred.
The fruit of the Spirit of God that we're given when we put our faith in Jesus, we're born again. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. You're like, those qualities they know nothing about, because the one who gives us that, the Spirit of God, they're like, Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I remember Dick Cheney got into. People laughed at him when he talked. Remember that statement he made about there's known unknowns and unknown unknowns, and those are the in other words, what we don't know is the most dangerous thing, and that's what you said. They don't know what they don't know.
That's correct.
And
that's correct.
I mean, what Dick Cheney said that time should be put up on a wall of every house. It was actually incredibly difficult to remember to say it, but he really summed it up, and you summed it up there. The unknown unknowns is what's driving people crazy and we even look at it in Ireland. Ireland is now this progressive, liberal country.
The only country on the planet Earth that voted for abortion. Only country.
But the young people are killing themselves. I mean, there's a wave of suicide in Ireland at the moment, a wave.
And
really?
It's massive, and it's everywhere, and it's just appalling. Even it's just every young person.
What age are they?
They're in their early 20s and younger than that. Late teens, early 20s. It's a virus, and it's contagious.
Yes.
And the despair is contagious, and it's everywhere. And you wonder what how did that happen? And I think you're putting your finger right on it.
That's
there.
interesting, because Joe Biden said that Donald Trump is the virus. Well, that means Ireland should be clear of it, because Trump is not over there. But they're still killing each other over there too.
And killing themselves.
Yeah, this is starting to form a pattern.
Yeah. I want to, just for people to understand who you guys are, I want to go right back to before Duck Dynasty. I mean, you were a successful business before that. You were the Duck Commander, or no, the Duck Commander was a whistle. So, for those of those,
can I just ask the most basic? Can I start by asking the most basic question?
What is a duck?
If you whistle, there is a way of whistling that attracts ducks.
Always remember this. Each person on planet Earth, each and every one, they're all worth something. All of them. I had a particular skill set, if you want to say that. Mm-hmm. And what I had was I listen to birds. Started out with nothing except trust in God, trust in capitalism, hard work. So I had this knack for knowing what birds sound like. It's kind of like playing piano by ear.
Sure.
So there's a lot of different kinds of ducks. Well, I figured out how to make devices that sounded like each species. Wow. So I made a mallard duck, quack, 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 quack. If I had them here, I'd blow them for you. And some ducks sort of whistle, like a pintail, a widgeon. You have the little teal, he just peeps. Well, I built all these little devices that sounded like them, put them on the market. It went ballistic. The TV people came in, and I looked up one day and I said, "Good night, I'm a multi-millionaire."
I love it.
Yeah. Boy, that was hard.
It's the American dream, right?
And by the way, Phil, yesterday we went to the Duck Commander, to that premises where there's the tour and all of that. And I was telling Alan, we met these two young gentlemen, like in their 20s, Phil, right? As nice a set of men you could ever meet, and super sincere and everything. And they were literally, it was like Mecca, It was like they were so happy that they had arrived, and they're saying, "Are you guys going to go on the tour?" Like, because it's fabulous, and it takes a while, and there's a movie and everything. But they were just so happy. Yeah. And I think people, this is what you've created here. So these people have come from like all over, right? Because they're
the beautiful thing about America is we once understood the fear of God, love your neighbor. I'm thinking, what's the downside for human beings loving God and loving each other? I said, why don't we try that? We started with that, and now they said, well, but all your founding fathers, they all made mistakes. I'm like, yeah. Have you ever made a few mistakes? I've made them. Everybody sins. So they just took it upon themselves to cancel any narrative that didn't fit their own. It's all from the evil one. It's that's why I don't put a whole lot of. I vote. I want our country to do well, but you say, as far as they are limited, whether it be the people who run Ireland or the people who run the United States or anyone else, these man-made constructs, man-made governments, they can't remove your sin, and they certainly can't raise you from the dead. They're limited in what they can do. Because of that, I try to vote for the godliest one. I was able to talk to Donald Trump about 3 times, and once while he was running, and a couple other times when he had won. The entire conversation, all 3 times, I pointed him to Jesus. I pointed him to Jesus. I would be tactful, since I said, well,
I don't believe that.
he's the president, so I'll be tactful.
For Dad,
Okay.
it was tactful.
And I said, Trump, you do have sins, don't you? And he said, oh, yeah. I said, you're an honest man. I said, so does everyone else. I said, this is the one that took him away on the cross. And when I got to the resurrection part, I said, 3 days after they killed him for our sins, and this blood removes them, I said, he was raised from the dead. I said, Trump, let's face it. I said, you and I are both the same age. We're both the same age. I said, look, I said, we're going into a hole in the ground. I said, you,
I
me.
love that.
And I said, whether you were president or whether I'm some duck hunter down there, redneck down there, I said, we're going to die. Is that right? And he said, no doubt about it. I said, this solved it right there. I said, now, if you got a better story, I'm all ears. But his reply was,
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
And when I turned to walk away, I had it written down on a piece of paper, God becoming flesh, there's one arrow, there's the cross, there's the tomb, there's an arrow. I said, all we're waiting on, Trump, is this last arrow, the return. 2020 years ago, as it turns out, we're counting time by it. All the years before that happened are called all the years before that happened. And I'm like, well, if he's a time marker, I said, do you realize how hard it would be for somebody like me? They're not going to count time by me, ever. But they did this one. Then I showed him this, and I said, have a nice day. The whole thing, the first meeting was about 10 minutes. I turned to walk away, and Donald Trump said, hey, he said, can I have that? I said, sure. I handed it to him and walked out the door.
Yeah,
Then he won the presidency, and I met with him a couple
Which is kind of
times.
interesting because I think for your audience especially to know, you remember when Obama said he kept evolving to decisions when he came in, it was one way, but he leaves out, he's getting more and more left-wing. So I think your audience would recognize we've seen that same evolution in Trump, but it's more towards spiritual, conservative.
Funny, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, because I know you at the beginning supported Cruz. Did you support Cruz initially?
I supported Cruz.
And I was thinking about this yesterday. It would be, I don't want to say it would be almost un-Christian not to have supported Cruz against Trump in the primaries.
Correct.
That's where I was.
Because you have this 3 times divorced playboy from New York versus Ted Cruz, who is a religious person. He's almost a preacher himself. His
dad is a preacher.
And a strict constitutionalist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it would be almost, and I don't want to say the word un-Christian, but it would go against your beliefs not to have supported Cruz in that. And it must have been very tough to support Trump then, and because all the signs pointed to him going more. I mean, everyone who goes to Washington becomes more liberal.
Right.
It's a rule. Even the rock-ribbed Republican Supreme Court judges, they go to Washington, and next thing, they're voting for all the Washington
John
agenda.
Roberts, right? Yeah.
John Roberts, even Gorsuch, in that. So, talk to me about that. How difficult was it? I mean, how difficult was it to support Trump? And obviously.
Well, I think in our case, for Dad and I, it came down to once Trump won, we were like everybody else. We were shocked. But when he won the nomination.
Won the primaries.
Yeah,
yes.
the primaries. So we're like, then you've got the stark choice, right? It's him or Hillary. And so it's like.
That's kind of easy, though,
That was
right?
easy, right. But at the same time, you're right. We're not unsure because what happens on the evangelical side, and that was one of the reasons why they sought our voices, was because everybody was uneasy.
Yes.
Because of the past and because of the issues he had. But we kept saying, because we had spent a little time with him, let's give this guy a chance and let's see where we go. And so I think, found that the influence of people like Dad and a lot of other, evangelicals we know that are plugged into the Trump administration is why you're seeing that evolution towards what's godly, what the things the country was founded on. Because let's face it, in 4 years, I mean, you can even go back to Reagan, that how much Trump has accomplished in a 4-year period, especially for people of faith, which is our primary driver. I mean, he's been the most pro-life president we've had ever in our lifetime. He's been the most to protect religious liberty, and I think part of that is because he has to. In other words, we're being attacked now more than ever.
That's true.
So you have to have somebody willing to stand up more than ever. And so I think the evolution of it has been fantastic. We hope we get another 4 years, obviously, to do more, and that's all, what's going to happen.
When it comes to Trump, the women are a little bit shaky about him because he's his personality is somewhat caustic at times.
It's not. I mean,
Okay,
so
let Phil finish.
but his acumen. There's a difference between someone who you zero in on his personality and you don't like it, whether he be too upfront, whether he talks too fast, whether he gets not disciplined enough, like in the debate with the first debate with Biden.
Oh, my goodness, that was a disaster.
When we put on Blaze TV, I said, Donald, you have 120 seconds for you to talk and 120 seconds for him. I said, that's not long, a couple of minutes. I said, let the man talk.
Yes.
I said, you broke in on him far too much.
Yeah.
I said, if you had let him speak, I said he would have probably stuck his foot in his mouth more than he should have.
Which he did the second.
But he overreacted. But here's my point. I don't vote for politicians based on their personality because you go down that road and it's a road that there's no return. I vote on what their policies are. And personality, I'm not worried about it. I know this. He is keen in the head, very smart. So what he said he would do, he would do it. And so I'm like, that guy, you can depend on him. Therefore, last night was a pretty good example. I think he won the thing. But now they're trying to steal it from him. But I think he actually won it.
Yeah.
Fair and square.
It's very interesting. I think you used the word deal there. I mean, it's very interesting. The politician who has fulfilled the most promises is the non-politician who is a deal maker in ordinary life, and you would recognize that from business. Right. It's about getting a deal done, and it's not easy to.
Trump was my kind of man.
Yeah.
Let's see, pro-God, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-America. I'm like, that's enough.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah,
and Dom Jr. is a great hunter. So
sure,
is he?
You throw that in there too. Oh, he's been fantastic. He's hunted with us a couple.
No, but it's interesting that whole thing about being a deal maker. And we know from Marjorie Dannell-Fancer, who's the president of the Susan B. Anthony List, who's a big pro-life organization, and she talked about like doing a deal with him and getting him. He asked for her endorsement, and she said, "I'm gonna write out what I want from you," and he said, "That's fine."
And he signed it.
And he signed it so that she could send it out to her people and say, vote for this guy because this is what he's going to do. And he did it. And I just think, in contrast to all these other politicians, as Phil says, who get to Washington and then do whatever, I think he's a man of his word,
Yeah.
The reason y'all left Los Angeles in I want to say a cloud of dust, but it's all pavement. The reason y'all pulled out of there and left, it wasn't because of Donald Trump's adherence at all.
No.
It was because somebody is mad.
That's right.
And somebody is part of a movement that is destructive, whether it's looting, shooting, burning. We've been watching L.A. We watch what happens out there. I mean, something is bad wrong with that hellhole. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I say this. We've met Trump once, and you talked about his personality. In person, he's a very, very nice person.
That's
very
correct.
friendly,
Very warm.
very warm.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Is interested in people.
Yeah.
Likes, isn't looking over your shoulder for the next interesting person. But I feel sorry for angry liberals who haven't had the joy of the Trump presidency.
Yeah.
Because it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just been interesting, invigorating, energetic, and there are people now who have spent the last 4 years being angry, and you've got these institutions who've spent the last 4 years destroying their reputations. Newspapers, the Never Trumpers. I mean, did you see what that person wrote last night about the congressman, the disabled congressman who won the election? I won't repeat it here on this podcast.
Certainly not repeat it.
But I mean, I'm thinking you used to be an upstanding Republican, and now you're sitting on Twitter angry.
I think
and you've lost the joy.
One of the things,
of being an American.
But funny enough, one of the things I think that Trump does, I think in some ways maybe that previous Republican politicians tried to be kind of popular or something, and tried to
Triangulate.
somehow try to triangulate or do something, whereas he's just like, no, I'm just going to stick to this thing. And I also think if somebody, and you guys know this better than anyone, if someone is successful in business in New York, whoa, really?
That's why I said his acumen
That's right.
to weather that
Yeah.
and make a living out of it, a big living. You're like,
right? So he's dealt with sharks in the past and alligators, I would imagine, right? And all those other animals that you guys know about here, right? And he has succeeded with really and badly behaved people, let's put it that way, right? And people, making a deal and then trying something smart on the back end or whatever. So he knows that. So he goes to DC and he recognizes these politicians and he's like, I've met you before. I know the kind of you. I see the way you're looking at me. And he sees it and he's smarter because because deal making is what he does. And I think there's something unique. He's uniquely qualified to be in that awful place.
I jotted down my Bible so many people ask me about it. Acumen, keenness and quickness in understanding and dealing with a situation. Shrewdness, mental acuteness. I said, that's Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And as I say, I feel sorry for people who don't get that, people who are so blinded by hatred and anger. You don't have to support the man, but recognize that there's something unique there and something it's actually joyful.
And I like that he points
caustically brilliant is what I call him.
Yeah, I like that he points it out. In the second debate, I loved it because Biden, he's just scripting it just straight down everything he's been told.
Yeah.
So then you notice he would turn away from the discussion. He'd look to camera and he would go into one of his little sitting at the kitchen table. And so I love that Trump, he was watching him do this and he says, see, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
That what he just did, that's what politicians do. They tell you all these stories and then you do nothing, Joe. He said, you talk about it, you do nothing. You've been here 48 years. And I just love it that he points it out because everybody else in the game, you never point it out.
You never point it out. But the thing is, and most people know it in the back of their minds that this is, but when someone points it out, you go, oh yeah. And Marco Rubio fell into that trap in a debate, and to a certain extent, Ted Cruz, there was a politician-ness to him.
That's right.
Which is unappealing.
Right? And I can see now Ted is trying to.
Have you noticed the last 4 years?
He's become less of a politician.
He was on our podcast, and I told him it was because he grew the beard. I was like,
I'm
once
with
you grew the beard, you kind of had a Wolverine look now.
No, I definitely think the beard
He's
works.
like ferocious, I was like, now that's a Ted Cruz that can win some votes right there.
No,
he's not the most animated individual I've ever run upon.
Unless you get him talking about Supreme Court or something like that.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, he's a little bit wooden, I think, unfortunately. And I just feel like Cam, just talk to us like we're a regular person, And Trump is like that. I mean, we were in the Oval Office for like 45 minutes. I couldn't believe it because you think you're going in there and you're thinking I'm going to be in here for like 3 minutes or whatever, and they'll be going like this.
Conveyor belt.
And we could see as we were talking to him, we could see his people coming in, kind of, but they wouldn't interrupt him.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan's on the phone. Go away.
Yeah. But he was like, no, I have to tell you this story and whatever, and he was he was so natural, and that was the thing I felt, and I always felt that about Obama, without even the politics, I always thought that Obama wouldn't like regular people.
Right.
He'd be kind of looking past you to think, oh, I think there's somebody more interesting over there, you know.
The ones that hold on to their God and their guns, he said,
yeah.
Yeah, I remember he said that about
guns.
Pennsylvania. I mean,
So
that was a rare moment.
we were the deplorables
Yeah. Yes.
that Hillary Clinton and old Obama talked about.
And now Biden called us chumps, by
Yeah,
the way.
yeah, chumps.
It's an extraordinary thing, by the way, that the Democrats do. And it's just unconscionable, by the way, that they call half of the country a bad word, you know? Like, you're bad. Like, half the country. It's like, how does that work?
Right.
But I mean, we've experienced it ourselves with people we know, you know, who just think that Donald Trump is just so appalling that they can't. And then you think, you know, I mean, I've even had people in Ireland, kind of surprising to me, people of faith, by the way, you know, who kind of, oh, he's appalling. And I've sort of said, I said to one lady, a person I really love, I said to her, you know, if you lived here, I'm telling you, trust me, you'd vote for him. And oh, no. And I mean, and I actually even had this conversation with my own father, actually, in an argument with him, and he was a person of faith, and I said to him, you know, well, one party want to abort children up to the day of their birth and even beyond, and the other party don't. It doesn't get much simpler than that, really, does it?
That's it. You're on it.
Yep.
It's
You're on it.
Which side are you on? Like, which side are you on with that? Because that seems to me to be so. It's so fundamental. It's so simple, but people kind of run away from that, and they try to ignore that, and they'll say, you know, they'll get all distracted by something else. But actually, you know, in the end, that's the thing that matters more than anything else.
Preeminent.
And Trump has been so loyal and so faithful on that issue. I mean, he just hasn't been.
Surprisingly, I have to say surprisingly, because it was almost an understanding in politics that you say this to get elected, and everyone knows that you won't follow through.
Right.
It's almost, and he has broken that mold.
He's not a politician.
No, but he's broken everything. By the way, he's broken them. That's why they're behaving in such a completely insane way.
And he had,
So Al, what do you think exactly? What's going to happen?
Yeah,
so
that's
we
the
get to
question.
the last 4 or 5 states. I mean, the Electoral College is there. He's leading all of them. But the longer this thing drags on, I noticed the numbers kept going down this morning.
I think
Yes.
we're going to wind up in front of the Supreme Court. I
Yes.
don't think there's any way. We've already been there. You know, even at the beginning.
With
Remember about
with
how
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to wind up. It's going to wind up in front of the court, which, by the way, was so important. I think to get
Yes.
you know, Coney Bennett in,
Yep.
just to give you a chance. You know, you never know. Phil,
Just to be
'cause like
fair.
you
That
said,
might turn out to be one of the showing about his acumen. That was a good move on his part.
well, and they knew that. That was the force behind getting it done quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, they can say whatever they want to, but that was the deal, and it was important. I mean, to do that. So I think it's 2000, you know, all over again. We're going to wait. Some decision's going to come down, and we're going to determine, you know, in the next month or whatever. That was 36 days or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
12th of December or something.
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like
So,
that,
you know, I mean, never underestimate though the ability of votes to appear mysteriously at the last minute.
We're going to be watching that very closely. We're coming kind of to the end of this. This is a shorter feature than our normal podcast, but we're so happy to be here, and we have to ask. So the 2 last questions we always ask all of our guests, and
we've already asked.
You've already asked me,
and we've already asked Al. So Phil, one question is, and I think this is probably the one that we want to spend most time on anyway, is, and by the way, yesterday I got this at the Duck Commanders.
And that's a younger face, Dad.
Sure.
And I got
say what it is. Say
Your
what it
beard
is.
was still black
So
when
this,
the years have not been kind.
So this is Cajun style seasoning, great on anything that crawls, walks, or swims. I just love that. So when you're cooking, Phil, what does everyone want you to cook? What are you famous for?
Usually in the seafood line, like you have shrimp. Last night we had fried oysters, but today for y'all, I'll fix you an etouffee. It's shrimp with onions, bell pepper, celery, and garlic, cooked down and sauteed in butter. Add your shrimp, maybe half a can of cream of celery soup. and you get it the right consistency. You can cut it with a little chicken broth, and you'll put that over rice.
Great.
We'll have those. We'll have some boiled shrimp, and then I'll fry you. I'll have fried shrimp. So this is kind of like a shrimp fest.
We're having a shrimp fest. It's fabulous.
Etouffee, that's a local dish, is it?
It's I guess Cajun.
It sounds
probably
French.
initially, or
It's
is it
French,
Creole? Yeah.
Miss
So-
K is half Cajun. You know, a full-blooded one, you better watch yourself. But a half, you got just enough
Yeah.
of that Cajun blood.
You felt you were safe enough with
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
And we are on the you
And
guys
you
are
marry them before they're 20. You don't wait till they're 25, and you're going way too late.
That's right. They're
so we're very
gone.
close to the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
And so the shrimp you guys will enjoy today were swimming around not too long ago. So
That's right.
you want this good fresh, it's coming right up from the Gulf. They bring it up every day here because we're only about 4 hours from the coast.
It is delicious.
It's very good.
delicious.
Oh, God, we're really looking forward to that. And we're going to take photographs, so we'll have the photographs and everyone will get to see them. We'll put them up on the Facebook page and on Instagram. Really looking forward to that. And then the other thing we ask people is if, like, a favourite piece of art, like a movie or a poem or a sculpture or a painting or anything like that you've always loved, like maybe a movie or whatever it is,
Like a good song.
or a good song.
I heard it through the grapevine by Creedence Clearwater Revival. That would be a good one to start with.
What do you like about that
I
song?
heard it through the grapevine. It's
How much longer?
that's right.
Man, yeah.
See, you remember that song? That's a good song.
That's a great song.
But other than that, it all goes downhill.
All right, okay.
You're not a real artsy person, I would say that.
I appreciate duck hunting because they migrate. The birds do. Wonder why. Here comes hundreds of millions of pounds of protein flying through the air to feed hawks, owls, alligators. They're coming through
Coyotes.
eagles. They're coming through foxes and coyotes. It's a giant food supply coming via the skies all the way from Canada. So
All the way from Canada.
all the way from Canada. They all raise on one end of the North American continent, fly to the other end,
And you're waiting here with a knife and fork.
and we're waiting on them. So there's more predators out there. Mankind is one of their predators. Think about it. What would a duck be good for? The only thing that we used to use them for is the women would pluck them and the feathers, throw the big feathers away, but save the soft ones, and they would get all those in big bags. And my childhood, I slept on
Duck down.
feather down mattresses, and the pillows were made out of duck feathers. So they didn't like
Sanitize them or-
sanitize them. No, so you could smell those ducks, and somehow or another that went in my brain, and I've been chasing ducks ever since.
And so the ducks come from Canada, and is this a stopping off point? Where do they end up?
Well, the
All the way
blue
down.
winged teal,
Mexico.
he flies all the way down. They do, and they the first ducks who migrate, and they go down on the Yucatan, across the Gulf. They go down there in Mexico. And that's where they winter. Well, we see them come back. They go down in August, September. They just got through going by. Well, now we're seeing like gadwalls and mallards and pintails. They're coming from the Canadian prairies, North Dakota, South Dakota. That's where all these ducks are coming from all these provinces. Therefore, every time we see a bunch of ducks flying over high and they're here, we all stand with our hand on our heart and sing the Canadian national anthem.
Oh, Canada. I never thought about it until you asked that question, that really and truly that is Dad's favorite artwork. It's the Almighty painted it
Oh my God!
and
but it's
puts it in
incredible.
motion.
Oh, no,
But
it's
Waiting
amazing.
on the
It's
ducks.
he
extraordinary.
calls it the Great Passage.
It's
yeah.
amazing.
I'd feel bad if we didn't ask a question for Magda, by the way. So alligators, what? That alligators, what? That's my question.
If he's big enough and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time,
You're done.
You're
It's over.
He's a
you're
bone to
You're a
beat you.
good meal.
So, but what? So serious. So we know nothing. Clearly, we know nothing. We're
We
from
have
Ireland.
them. We have them all over around here.
You have them all around
have
here.
them all around, and I saw them all spring. But most of the time, they just look at you and you're doing work. It pays to keep your eye on them. But as far as like being like crocodiles, which run you down, and
Oh, they don't run you down.
No, they're
at
not
all.
aggressive
Not at
unless
all.
they're on a nest.
it would be,
Unless they're
like
on a
fooling
nest.
with a big mother. But like the ones we see around here, most of the time, 3-4 footers, 3-4-5 footers.
Okay.
You
All
go
right.
down south though, you get into some 15-20 footers.
I would worry more about the cottonmouth moccasin.
I told y'all.
The what now?
The snake.
Cottonmouth.
Oh.
Pardon the snake. We have all 4 kinds in Louisiana: rattlesnake, copperhead, coral snake, and cottonmouth.
Water moccasin.
Now we have to watch, like if you're walking in the woods, you would never walk over and like pick up a board or a piece of tin,
'Cause
or
he's gonna
push
be
your-
under there.
or just don't look under your boat and you push it off and you want to push the boat back. So many times we push our boat back, but we're watching. We don't want to step right there on that boat because it's shady in there, and these cottonmouths get up on there. So when we get in a boat, we push it off a little bit, and we're watching. Hundreds of times I said, whew, glad we did that. Boom, bow. We either shoot them or
Have
kill
you-
When
them.
they open their mouth,
I mean, you just
it's
have
white.
to-
When they open their mouth, what?
It's called cottonmouth because they're white. It's just a white flash. So we've seen
All
that
of
many
our
times.
dogs get bitten every year.
Yeah.
But they don't die. The dog doesn't die.
Dogs
Most
just
don't.
they swell up, but it's amazing. The dogs actually start to develop an immunity to it.
They've
And,
been bitten enough times.
Bobo, my dog this year, he was bitten
4 times.
4 times.
And do you bring him to the vet?
Each
or-
time
Sometimes.
his head swells up,
Oh.
and
So
one
have you
time
been bitten?
a fang hit him right on the edge of the eye. One of them, small cottonmouth, but with that one he like to lost his eye, but it cleared up a little. It's a little bit
It's just a
cloudy,
little
but
cloudy.
he'll be all right.
You've never
He's
really
he's
bit-
my snake wrangler.
So you haven't been bitten yourself, have you?
No, just on my boots.
On your boots?
Hit the boots.
Oh yeah. And an alligator has never. You've never had a hairy moment with an alligator.
Are alligators protected then, or do people shoot them?
There's
No,
a
they have
season
an
for
alligator season. You can
A month you
can
can
trap
harvest them if you get a tag.
Hang a chicken up about this high above the water. Just hang a chicken up and with a big hook, and they'll lunge. And you got you a gator.
And then and would you cook that?
Alligators.
Oh yeah,
excellent.
people eat them.
Oh,
the
what is it?
jaws. The
The
jaws
jaws.
I like.
And what does it taste like?
Oh,
It's kind of
I
like
would-
pork. I would
I
describe
would say
it. Kind of a,
sort of like frog legs, maybe
Yeah.
a little chewier than
it's a
frog
little
legs.
chewier. Yeah.
Very good.
Do you do frog's legs as well?
Oh, frog legs are amazing.
There you go.
Really?
Because of the we're really showing our
You're in a-
ignorance now.
You're in a part of the country where if I'm with you two and we're going through the woods and we shoot something, you shoot it because you say, I wonder what that is, and you shoot it. Well, when you walk over there, the first question is, what is it? And the second question is always there. I wonder if we can eat that.
Can we eat it?
I wonder, can we eat that?
I wonder if we can eat
So
it.
that's how we discovered.
And the answer is
frog legs.
generally yeah.
Generally, it's yeah.
You know, you look at a crawfish, you would never think that would be as delicious as it is. Crawfish
He's
got
his
pinchers.
Pinchers.
But somebody way back looked and said, you know what?
We should boil that.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
It's like a mini lobster.
And they're like, whoa, this is pretty good.
This is pretty
Very
good.
tasty.
Yeah.
And where are your crawfish? They're in the Gulf, right?
They're here.
No, they're in the ground.
They go in the ground.
They go in the ground, and they have their young in the ground. One male will follow about 10 females down in a hole in the ground. You're in low country, so the water table is like 3 feet below the surface. I mean, the water table is way up, and that's why we have so many crawfish up in here on these river systems. So we go out there, the backwater comes way up. It floods every year. Where this is right here, the water comes all around
Just
this.
right up to the door.
Almost gets in here. We're just above the highest water mark ever. So we try to build them on the side there, but all this out this way, that's all flooded 15, 20 feet deep. I mean, it
And
fluctuates.
how do you catch a crawfish?
We have little traps. I'll show you some.
Oh yeah, like a lobster pot then?
Yeah,
Is it?
that's right.
Yeah.
And we bait them, and
You
They
put-
just walk into the
they
basket.
walk
then?
in
Yeah.
and they can't get
And
out.
they can't get
and
out.
they try to crawl out, but you put a little piece of PVC and it's too slick. So
go
they
by
have
in a
to-
boat. We got a little stand with a sack, and we separated. They'd be like little perch and whatnot. We throw them away, save the crawfish, and we go down through there. But it's
And they'll
And you
eat-
boil them. You boil the crawfish, which
fry
is
them,
Ah,
fry
fry
them,
'em.
or boil them, or put them in dishes.
oh yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be really nice, really
They're
nice.
delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we've come to the. This is
the second ending. We
Yeah,
ended.
okay,
Then we got
exactly. No, I got distracted.
Dieter.
I had to mention about the alligators because Magda has discovered that there are alligators in America, and it's very frightening.
The background of this is all our friends are leaving Los Angeles permanently. They're all going on these tours to Texas, Florida, Idaho to see where to live because LA is just intolerable.
Find a free state.
Find a free state. And a lot of people are going to Florida, but Magda is our business partner. She just can't countenance that anyone would want to live anywhere there's alligators. She's Polish,
and I think
she
alligators.
She grew up afraid of bears, right? Because there's bears in the woods.
You get used to them, and they're not near as dangerous.
Well,
as
the reason
people
you know
make them
this
out
not
to
is
be.
because you're not hearing about alligator attacks every day. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's
There's
not.
a few.
There's a few.
You
but
do hear of children, right?
Children, dogs. Dogs are probably the biggest victim of alligators. Puppies,
Oh yeah. Oh God. Okay, we've come to the end. This has
Okay.
been fabulous. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you.
your time today
You're
and
welcome.
for welcoming us from crazy California.
Yeah, get out of L.A. and move to Louisiana.
There you go. There's the
We
advertisement.
should actually mention people if they want to see our new movie, ObamaGateMovie.com, how the deep state tried to take down Donald Trump, President and candidate Donald Trump. Go to ObamaGateMovie.com.
Almost 400,000 people have watched so far.
and it stars
Not
Stephen
quite
King.
the same audience as Duck Dynasty in season 4, but it's we're going in the
You
right
know what?
direction.
But I offered Al Robertson a role in Obamagate.
Yeah, James
Oh, yeah.
Comey.
Yes,
Yeah,
James
yeah.
Comey, and he wasn't available. But if we had him, we might have got the Duck Dynasty bump effect.
There you go.
And
I would have loved to have worn that Boy Scout suit.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we will close it out here. Thanks so
Thanks.
much, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.